Welcome in to the US Open live chat presented by Jock Market. How about that? Pretty slick. I finally beat them down. I've been tweeting about them. I've been enjoying playing. Finally beat them down, and we have partnered up. We'll talk about Jock Market in a little bit because it's going to be awesome this week. However, drop your questions in the chat. We'll go through as many as we can for this week's US Open. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. 4 a.m. wake up call for me on the West Coast. No problem. Happy to do it. Might just stay up all night long. Who knows what's going to happen? A couple of things off the top. I did this live stream for the Tour Championship. I think it was very well received. Doing it now, obviously, for the US Open, hopefully, fingers crossed, just as well received. Might end up making it a staple of the channel if we can moving forward. So if you like this, if this is something that you want, the way that you can tell me is to hit the like button. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. You do that, I'll know that this is something that we should probably continue moving forward. And I think it's good too, right? I mean, I do a lot of content on Mondays, a lot of content on Tuesdays. By the time the week moves on, you might want a little bit of a refresher. So we can jump into this, and again, drop your questions. I'll go through as many as possible. I want to talk about Jock Market. I want to talk about potentially the weather, although I don't see anything too crazy happening there. But we can start with the course, because the course is, of course, getting a lot of attention this week, and for good reason. Winged Foot, a place we haven't seen since 2006. Basically, all of these golfers in their pressers yesterday essentially alluding to this might be one of the most difficult courses they've ever played. So I'm already seeing questions in the chat like, what is the winning score going to look like? Well, good question. If I knew that, maybe I could bet on it somewhere. I actually think you can bet the winning score. I thought I saw it at 268.5, which would be 1.5 shots under par, which is kind of crazy. The USGA loves to get an even par test, but the rough, right? It's going to be thick. That's what everybody's talking about. If you miss the fairway, you're in big trouble. If you have to hack it out, which is essentially what you're going to have to do, essentially the thicker the rough, it becomes about almost a half shot penalty, 0.4 strokes. If you miss the rough in some of the thicker stuff is what the mathematicians would like us to believe, which I think is going to be correct. My DFS video, full DFS video, that is out. That came out on Monday. You can go watch that. I talk through a lot of different players, talk through a lot of the course. I've got fades out. I've got sleepers out. I've got the betting preview out. So I guess the only thing left to do is to just jump into these questions. Let's just see what happens here. Tyler, what up, Tyler? My feelings on Ricky Fowler this week. He might be interesting. I have money on him. You might be biased, Tyler. Feels like a great tournament for him to hit fairways and make putts. I will say this, and I guess I can kind of flip around to through the tools here. Everything you see, RickRunGood.com, all these tools, if you would like to check them out, highly encourage you to do so. So we can look at Ricky Fowler's results, and I can bring those up while we're talking about him. Yes, Ricky Fowler hits a lot of fairways. Yes, he's a very good putter, and when you get on very complicated, complex putting surfaces like we're going to have at Winged Foot this week, you need a guy who's going to be able to make those 4 to 8 footers for par usually. You're going to need someone who can read greens well and then hit the ball on the line that he's trying to hit it off of. I get that. My issue with Ricky is the swing changes, right? I mean, this has been going on since the American Express, maybe a little bit earlier, January. He's been going through this swing change, and the left-hand miss, or the threat of a left-hand miss, has really kind of tied him up, and he leaves a lot of shots out to the right when he does that, and I don't like the idea of backing a guy to major championship who's afraid to go left. I think that hurts you more often than it helps you, so I'm not as warm. I'm hoping Ricky took the time from the Northern Trust to right now to kind of get right, but I'm not as optimistic as maybe some others in the industry. 80s and stuff asks, what do I think about Paul Casey this week? Paul Casey's very interesting. Paul Casey, we can look at his results as well. He finished 16th at the BMW Championship, which was Olympia Fields. That is one of the most difficult courses that we've seen on the PGA Tour this year. And he told us on Twitter, literally, I'm running on fumes, right? He played like 6 straight weeks trying to get himself into Eastlake. Now he hasn't played in, 3 weeks? 3 weeks time? 3.5 weeks by the time we get to tomorrow? Like, okay, maybe he's well rested. Presumably he is. He hits the ball straight. He hits it far for guys who find a lot of fairways. The issue is always going to be this right here with Paul Casey. A lot of red in the strokes gained around the green numbers and a lot of red in strokes gained putting. His short game is not very good. So that is the concern for me, especially when, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, getting up and down for par is going to be great a lot around Winged Foot. And if you struggle getting up and down, if you struggle out of bunkers, if you struggle with 6-footers or 8-footers or 10-footers, you're staring double in the face a lot. So that's the concern about Paul Casey. It is not him getting it in position off the tee or on his approach shots. It's about him actually finishing out the hole. Winning score. Drew asks what the winning score is. I would like to see it be about 1 over. Keep in mind what happens for the rest of the week, like whatever happens Thursday and Friday might dictate what we've saw Saturday and Sunday. Like USGA can change a course pretty quickly, right? I mean, you can put water on it if it's firm and fast, and you can make those greens soft, and then it becomes a little bit different. What was it? Saturday at Shinnecock, where like they lost the course, and Sunday played a bit different, right? Because guys were complaining. It was really bad. I think that was Shinnecock I'm thinking of. But they can change. So it's hard to say how it's going to play for all 4 days because they're going to take feedback from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all that good stuff. I think it's going to be over par. I don't think it's going to be too crazy. I don't think it's going to be 8-10 over par. I don't think they want to embarrass these guys, but I think it's going to be like 1 or 2 over is my best guess at the moment. Matthew asks, with how thin the fairways are this week, it looks like everyone's going to have a hard time hitting. Does this give an advantage to the Bombers or at least closer to the green out of the rough? It's a good question, and I understand it, right? If everyone's missing fairways, does it matter if Bryson's going to miss all the fairways? I get that. But if you're hitting 2-3 more fairways, you're making 2 or 3 more pars over the course of a round because spin control out of the fairway is going to be critical. I could see that being a pretty big advantage, right? Like I really could. If you're just hitting 2 more fairways around than everybody else. So Matthew, the second part of his question is at least closer to the green out of the rough. I'm sorry. I guess I misunderstood his question. I was taking it as guys who are just missing the fairway as opposed to missing it in a big way, because Greg Ducharme from the First Cut pod, CBS Sports, he joins me on that pod. He had mentioned that, yes, there's no gallery, so they're not going to be trampling down the rough outside the ropes like you might see in previous years. And in previous years, you could like miss wildly outside the rope line and draw a pretty good line because galleries had trampled it down. Now, he did note that, the NBC crew is still there. They're still driving a lot of equipment around. They're outside the ropes. There are spots outside the ropes that are trampled down. He actually kind of alluded to being like, you'd rather be 10 feet off the fairway than 3 feet off the fairway because you might catch a decent lie from some of the NBC crews or some of the trampled down stuff. And, I don't know how we're going to figure that out, right? Like, I don't know how we're going to figure out which guys are just going to miss by a little bit as opposed to missing by a lot. But I thought that was interesting. I've heard almost no chatter about Berger this week. This is from Trevor. Yeah, solid at everything. So for me, Berger, and we can pull him up as well, and I can pull him up on the cheat sheet and show you $9,200. I have him projected at 15.4% ownership. I think he's incredibly fairly priced. I think I've been very high on him and I've been very bullish on him since the restart. That's very obvious. We're getting a much higher price on him. I think he's at the point where he's very fairly priced. So I'm not sprinting to the window. I'm not avoiding him. I just think it's fair. Todd and Zalatoris or English and Harmon in the last 2 spots. All right, real quick on Will Z, on Brandon Wu, on guys like this. I think it's a bit unfair that we are going to grade Will Zalatoris, who is phenomenal on the Korn Ferry Tour, 10 straight top 20s. We're going to grade him on 1 start, and it's going to be at the hardest course he's probably ever played. And I don't think that's fair to him, because I think the second he gets himself on the PGA Tour, he is the odds-on favorite to be the Rookie of the Year. And we've seen what these guys who graduate from the Korn Ferry Tour in like the number 1 or number 2 spot do when they get on the PGA Tour. Sung J M goes out, wins Rookie of the Year. Scotty Scheffler next year goes out, wins Rookie of the Year. These guys are ready. They're primed. They're ready to rock and roll. I don't think it's fair to just be like, this one tournament, is Will going to have a good tournament or not? I don't know. I think he's great. I think he's going to be awesome on the PGA Tour. But I'm bullish on him very long term, as opposed to just trying to pick out 1 week. But to answer your question, it's still probably Todd and Will. I'll just play into the fever pitch here. Thoughts on Answer at 7,800. Seems to fit the bogey avoidance, accurate driver, putting, scrambling profile of the week. Yeah, I think he does. We can pull him up, though, and just check out some of the stuff about Answer, because he finishes 18th at the Tour Championship. That's with the strokes. Concerns there are he was just slightly below average off the tee, which, even though Answer is not very long off the tee, he usually gains strokes, and you've got to hit a bunch of fairways. His irons have been erratic. So this is what I'm seeing here, and looking back to even RBC Heritage, where he made a great run. You're talking about gaining 11 strokes. Oh, I guess I'm not even showing you this. How about that? There we go. Gaining 11 strokes on approach, gaining 4, losing 7.5, average, losing 2, average, slightly below average. That is a bit erratic with the irons. The short game, not very good. That's kind of where I start to lose on Abraham Answer, because he's really going to have to be super solid around the greens. He's going to have to be super solid around the bunkers. And when you have the rest of his game, that's a little bit of a question mark at the moment. I'm not super stoked about it. The Euro guys. So Keimer, Peters, Detry, Rasmus Højgaard. I have a European Tour golfer profile. Let me see if I can pull this up here. On RickRunGood.com. So it just, there's not as many stats for the European Tour, right? So I've got some interesting things. I think Rasmus is gonna catch a lot of steam from the guys that follow the Euro Tour much closer than I do, and then we can have that argument: is being successful on the European Tour, does that translate over to the PGA Tour? We can have that argument forever. Here's what we can see about Rasmus. In his last, and again, some of this goes back to the end of July, but you're talking about a 2nd place finish at the British Masters, 6th at the Hero Open, 3rd at the English Championship. He wins the UK Championship. I mean, it's been a really good run for him. It's been a great run for him. So I'm fine with it. I'm not super thrilled to go out and roster a bunch of Euros. If you made me pick one, Rasmus would obviously be the guy. But again, I'm a data guy. I try not to do the gut feels, right? We don't have as much data on these guys, but the results are certainly there. Any love for Harmon, and any worry about using Reed with his 55% off the tee stat? I think Harmon's fine, and we can pull up Brian Harmon. I think he is, what is Brian Harmon's price this week? Am I missing him? I thought he was in the low 7s. Maybe I'm wrong. Stand by. Let me see if I can find Brian Harmon. Or we'll pull up his strokes gained at least here for a second. So Harmon, the way that he does it, unfortunately, he's not great with wedge or iron in his hand. You can see the approach stuff. He's going to hit a lot of fairways. He's not going to be long, but from what I'm understanding, these fairways are going to be firm. So guys that don't hit it far, if you hit it in the fairway, you are going to get run out. You're not going to just be eaten up by this rough and lose. Like, if you miss the fairway, you might lose 30 yards of run out. So I think it does help these shorter hitters that are able to put it out there. And then Patrick Reed is a guy who, the short game, that's Curtis Reed. The short game, he gets high marks on, right? I mean, you can see here, these are his strokes gained total over time in aggregate. And off the tee, slightly better than average. On approach, slightly better than average. Hovers around there. And then you get to the short game. And I mean, every single week he seems to gain around the green. Every single week he seems to gain on the greens. He's an absolute competitor. I actually have a bet in on Patrick Reed. I think I got him at 40. I don't know what he's at right now. Which, by the way, if you are in New Jersey and you haven't signed up at William Hill yet, if you do so with Rick 500, you get a free $500 bet if you want to put it on Patrick Reed, which would be pretty sick. Will I have any shares of Ian Poulter on the DFS side? Probably not. I think there's better options. He's not someone who really interests me, but speaking of shares, so thanks Infamous, that is a professional segue into Jock Market. And if you have not played Jock Market yet, you are missing out, okay? This is like my favorite thing in quite some time. Again, I told you, this live chat presented by Jock Market. Thank you very much. It's essentially if golfers were stocks, and what it really allows you to do is if you can figure out the buy low opportunities, the undervalued, the overvalued guys, it goes a long way. I get a lot of tweets. I get a lot of messages of people who are enjoying Jock Market, and there is a $1,200 free roll this week. So $0 to enter. Go download Jock Market. It is paying out. It's a 500-person contest that is paying out $100 to first, and it's paying out 50 spots. Okay, so 10%, very flat payouts. I love the payout structure on here. But the key is trying to determine what some of these undervalued and overvalued golfers are. So this goes across a lot of different formats here, but thanks to Dave at Jock Market who sent me the current IPO prices. So we're in IPO phase right now. You can bid on golfers. You can get your shares. You can follow it as the tournament goes on and buy and sell and all that good stuff. But we're in IPO right now. And this spreadsheet that I've put together is very handy. Okay, so this FV column, that's their fair value. So what that does is it uses essentially the betting odds for what a golfer is projected to finish at. And it says, what is a fair average finishing position? And for Dustin Johnson, it's 9.1. Okay, so right between 9th and 10th place. And that would put his share price at $11.45. And his current IPO, his current price is $10. So to me, that says there is a 1.45 chip value on this golfer, right? So we're not there yet. Now, IPO might go much higher on DJ in the next few hours before it closes this evening, but this is a really good metric for me. Like, what's the difference in value? And I've put that in here for every single golfer, and you can see there are guys who are over and undervalued. Already Tiger Woods to me is an overvalued golfer, and this is the market dictating this. This is what I love about this. The market dictating it. His fair value is 6.55, and he's already above that in IPO. So that also says to me, in other fantasy contests, in the betting market, Tiger's going to be treated the same way. He's going to be overvalued. He's probably going to be overowned in a lot of these contests. That to me is scary. I'm not in on that, especially for a guy who has trouble hitting fairways. And then look at the no love for Colin Morikawa. Morikawa's fair value, $8.83, currently trading below 6.5. I think there's a ton of value there, and I can sort this by value and see even more guys. Justin Rose, to me, is the most disrespected in the market at the moment on Jock Market, right? His current IPO, a shade over $3. His actual fair value based on his position, I think it's about 6.5. Right? Plenty of value there. And then those European guys, they're getting no love from the market. So if you are in on the Euro guys, they're trading a hair over $1 at the moment. They might be someone that you want to invest in. And then look at these big names. I mean, Morikawa's here. Jason Day's a big name. He's not getting the love that I thought he was going to get. Even Jon Rahm, there's plenty of value in Jon Rahm, probably because there's not, DJ's closing in on his on being overvalued in the IPO market to me. And then the guys who are already there, the guys who are already overvalued, look at Gary Woodland getting the former US Open champion bump, right? The defending champion bump. I already have him over his fair value price in the current IPO. I mean, it's tough. Victor Hovland, I love him too, but I think he's overvalued. Tiger Woods, I mentioned already on this list. And it's some of the more household names, right? I mean, Rory right now is already valued at what I think he should be. So that's only going to go up. It's going to be tough to get shares of Rory McIlroy. But this is a really fun way to get a grasp of how people are actually dictating their dollars and their allocations and seeing what the public perception is. And Jock Market has been very good to me. I played NFL over the weekend, did great. I love it. It's just, to me, the intersection of something I'm really passionate about, fantasy golf, fantasy sports, and the stock market. And it's been awesome. I'm glad what these guys have been able to execute. And thank you very much for being a partner. I think it's awesome. Is Webb Simpson actually good, or does he just dominate easy courses? I think it's a good question. I mean, we can pull this up because you'll see Webb Simpson quite a bit. Yeah, does show up at those, Wyndham Championship, RBC Heritage, maybe a bit of weaker fields, and he doesn't have a lot of great major championship history outside of the fact that he's won the US Open before. So we can give him credit for that. I think a lot of, so it's weird, right? And I think this is a bigger conversation than Webb Simpson. A lot of the harder courses or bigger tournaments do it in a way that doesn't fit Webb, which is just make it super long, right? That doesn't help Webb at harder courses. What does help Webb is an emphasis on hitting the fairway, having very penal rough, and having very complicated greens. That helps Webb. And I think that's what we're going to get this week. So I'm very bullish on him. Chris Brown asks, I hope you're not the Chris Brown, which I'm sure you've never heard that before. Staying away from top Draftkings or fantasy guys, Johnson and Rahm, so that I can hopefully have some more consistent players at the top. Sure. I think it's fine. I mean, listen, this is probably going to be a pretty volatile tournament, right? You're one swing away from a double. You're one swing away from a triple. I don't think anybody's safe. And we've seen that at US Opens in the past. I mean, look at all the red over here in event history, right? So this is on the cheat sheet, RickRunGood.com. I mean, Rory McIlroy missed 3 straight cuts at US Opens. Jon Rahm missed 2 in a row. Jason Day, Adam Scott. I mean, you can miss cuts at the US Open. It's very easy to do. So I'm okay being different, embracing the volatility, staying away from those guys. How owned will Jason Kochrack be? Good question. I have him at right here. 6.4% owned is what I have Jason Kochrack coming in at, which would be him, Reavie, Thomas Peters, Sebastian Munoz, Brian Harmon. Oh, there's Brian Harmon, 6,400. The guys sub 7,000 that are gaining a lot of steam. Would it be worth fading Rahm and DJ? Yep, covered that one. What's up, Matt? Thanks for coming in. Is Matthew Wolff straight enough off the tee? Man, probably not. The thing about Matthew Wolff, though, is his game is maturing at such a quick rate that it's really hard to look at his entire career, which is essentially 1 year's worth of data. It's really hard to look at that because he's improving so quickly, right? He's nowhere near to his final form. So you really have to rely on a lot of short-term results with guys like Matthew Wolff because he's changing each and every week. So no, I don't think historically he has been straight enough. I think that, but I do think that his game is maturing at a rate that he's getting better and better every single week. Greg says, smash the like button. Greg, my guy, doing some work for me. Much appreciated. He's right, though. If you like this and you want this to be a weekly feature, there is literally one way to tell me to do that. It is to hit the like button, and I will use that to decide whether this comes back. How do I calculate ownership projections on the cheat sheet? I aggregate them from 3 separate places. I have been grading them for accuracy, and I pass along the best ones. I think that's pretty fair. How much emphasis should I put on ownership percentage? If I play a single entry, is it important to have a few pivots? So notoriously, I just lost my spot. I lost my spot on the questions. My bad. I have no idea where I'm at right now, but you should play ownership, quite importantly, because that's really the path to victory, right? Golf is so volatile. The margins are so small. I mean, look at this. Let me see if I can find a good example here. Tony Finau and Hideki Matsuyama. They're $9,100 and $9,000. One of them is projected for nearly twice the ownership. Tony Finau 18% to Hideki's 10%. What are the chances Hideki has a better week than Tony Finau? It's going to happen more than half the time, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy that the margins are so thin. Ownership is not. Ownership is all over the place. Some guys get twice as much, 3 times as much as others. So you should be playing the ownership game, quite frankly. I hate that that's the answer, but you should be. Let me see if I can find my spot again. Sorry if I'm skipping you. Can I trust Reed off the tee? No. But the rest of his game is pretty good. Will Tiger make the cut? Probably not. Here's the thing with Tiger. His best aspect, the iron game. Put an iron in his hand. Put a wedge in his hand. That's his superpower. You don't get to use that superpower if you're playing out of the rough. He loses his big advantage. The putter's been bad. He hasn't been accurate. I'm a little bit concerned about it. On Yahoo, Fleetwood is 41. Adam Scott is 39. Would you consider either sleepers? No. I mean, because they're pretty much... Isn't that like some of the highest prices on Yahoo? I haven't played as much on Yahoo as I like. I do enjoy it when I play over there. I think they're good. I think they're good contests. I wouldn't consider either of them sleepers for their price, but I guess Adam Scott will probably be lower owned than Fleetwood. Fleetwood catches a lot of steam at these things. Who's your top Euros? Probably Rasmus. In your tiers format, Fitz, Louis, or Hatton? Man, I really love I think it's Hatton, but I really do love Fitzpatrick this week. Harmon, Damon, or Homa? Man, probably Harmon, right? I mean, I think that's right. I think it's Harmon. Thoughts on Jason Kochrack? He hits it far. He's going to need to hit a lot more fairways. He's got 3 straight top 25s coming in. Let's do Jason Kochrack. And then what I can actually do is show you something else here. So here's Kochrack. 13th at the Northern Trust, 15th at the Wyndham Championship. Hits the ball really long, playing well with his irons. The ball striking numbers are all there. I'm concerned that he misses a lot of fairways, but I think we can get over that. Here's the Holy Grail, by the way. This is a tool within the Strokes Gain database that I find very helpful. So if you just load up, I have the last 3 years of the U.S. Open loaded up in here, and you'll see, Xander Schauffele, who has been talked about ad nauseum, just gains a ton of strokes from tee to green, total at the U.S. Open over the last 3 years. The only guy over 3 per round. I always forget I got to transition back. There we go. Show you this. Brian Harmon, who's only played twice in the last 3 years, is second. So smaller sample size, but much cheaper value there. Hideki Matsuyama is third. Tommy Fleetwood is fourth. There's that Patrick Reed guy in fifth. So again, it's different courses, but you can take I don't know. I mean, it's always set up kind of similarly. I shouldn't say that, but like the goals are usually the same. Tee shots are usually penal if you're in the rough. It's usually firmer. It's usually more fast. Greens can be a little bit more difficult. So you can take a little bit of something in that. Crazy Goofball says, hey, Rick. Hey, Crazy Goofballs. Louis projected ownership. I have him currently at 12.5%, which would be about what Matthew Wolff is at, but he would be one of the more popular guys in the $7,000 range. Who else do I have here? How do you rate Tiger's form? I think it's pretty clear he hasn't been good, right? I mean, there's really nothing to. There is no evidence in 2020 that Tiger Woods is going to have a good week. There's just not. He's missed a lot of fairways. I mentioned the approach game has been good, but you lose that advantage if you're out of the rough. The short game's been poor. The putter's been terrible. So there is no evidence outside the guy's won 15 major championships over the last 20 years or 25 years that he's going to have success this week. So I hope I'm wrong, but that's how I would rate his form. Is Xander a must, or should I search somewhere else due to chalk? Xander is objectively one of the best plays on the slate. I think that's fine. If you're going to play him, you should probably consider other options. I've got him at 21% ownership, which is basically, the highest owned golfer on the slate, right? I mean, I have him, John Rahm, and Tyrrell Hatton as the only three guys over 20%. Do I like Bryson and Cantlay as leverage plays? So I think I'd prefer Cantlay. Well, hold on. I guess there are two different styles. So Cantlay's interesting because he's not getting a lot of chatter. He hasn't played as well as we would like him to, but the approach game has still always been there, right? The putters let him down. That comes and goes. I'm okay with that. I think he has a much higher floor than Bryson does at the moment, but I think Bryson has an incredibly higher ceiling, like incredibly higher. I think Bryson, and based on the conversations that he has had, the pressers that he's had this week, I mean, he's pulling driver. He's going to pull driver every single time. Now, he might change his tune on Friday after Thursday goes sour for him. But he's planning on hitting driver all the time. And I think he's trying to Ricky Bobby this. He's going to be first or he's going to be last. And I don't know if that's going to work at a U.S. Open. Xander is the same price as Thomas. How? Is he that solid? Yeah. Yeah, he is. JT upside is always going to be higher. He's going to win more tournaments. The putters let him down, but like literally talking about who's solid, Xander's super solid. Can you provide the top owned players in each range? Sure. Why not? I'll just sort by highest projected owners here. So here's who I have. Above 10K, I think that Rahm and Xander are both incredibly popular. Now, that might shake out differently as guys make lineups because you're not going to get both of those guys into lineups, right? But two guys over 10K. 8K, Hatton. I have him at 21%. He's 8,100. Finau and Webb in the 9K range, around 18%. Harris English around 17 in the 7K. And then Ches Reavie is the highest projected ownership in the 6K. He's 6,900, about 11.7%. Corey Connors would be the next one, it looks like. And then Jason Kochrack. So those are your highest owned golfers in each slate. Any love for other Korn Ferry guys outside of Will Z? The other guy's Brandon Wu. Let me pull up Brandon Wu's stuff here. He's much more erratic, right? Will Zalatoris goes 10 straight top 20s. That's very consistent. Brandon Wu, he won on his last start in the Korn Ferry Tour. Then he finished 58th at the Nationwide, but he was second in the start before that. Then he missed the cut. Then he had a top 10 a couple weeks before that. He's just more erratic, right? So if you want someone who is higher ceiling, lower floor, although I'll tell you, I don't think Will's going to be I think this is going to be fine for him, right? I don't want to grade him on 1 week, the hardest course he's ever played, but his game is really, really strong. Wu, much more raw, but all good. What do we have here? Am I entering the $100 GPP on DraftKings? So I don't know yet. I've reserved some spots. I reserved some spots in the $10 one as well. The $100 one is a better structure. They're taking less rake, but I kind of want to get closer to maxing it out. I'm not going to max out whatever it is like what, 150 lineups, I think it is, 15,000. All right. Can't wait for all these Euro guys to bust. That's probably true. E-Pat. Oh, E-Pat dropping some knowledge. Fowler was just on the range working on some tweaks. Oh boy. That's scary, E-Pat. You hate to see a guy working on things 12 hours out from his tee time, whatever it is. You hate to see it. I bet everyone who was plus money on round 173 and over. Good move. I don't know how many people that was. I mean, I think it's pretty funny. 73 is what, 3 over? I mean, it would be pretty... I don't know how many guys that was. It's funny. I don't know. I think it might just get progressively more difficult, right? I think what we saw in 06 was the cut line was 10, I think. And the winning score ended up being 5 over, I think was Ogilvy. So it got significantly harder on the weekend because you saw guys 15, 20, 25 over par by the time it was all said and done. Pretty funny, though. Between the two, who would you pick to win? Tommy Fleetwood, man, or Daniel Berger? They're completely different players. I'll tell you what, here's what we can do. We can use the head-to-head matchup tool. Let's see what the matchup tool says. So this would be actually for one to beat the other, which I'm curious about, but I want to change the date here. Let's do since the start of 2020. Let's do, who was it? Berger and Fleetwood, right? All right. So, oh man. Well, actually, you know what? Tommy hasn't played all that much. Let's probably go back a little bit further. Yeah, it gets a little bit better. So when you start to do longer term stuff, Tommy Fleetwood has a tiny edge here, about 53% to win a matchup. And I know you're not asking about that. I think it would have to be Berger to win, right? I mean, he's contended more often recently. He's won more recently. Tommy Fleetwood doesn't have a PGA Tour victory yet. Is his first one going to be a major championship? I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty tough ask. It's really close, Darren. It's really close. I'm going to go with Berger. Thoughts on Todd and Im? Oh, Jay Cud, my man. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about both of these guys. Brendan Todd is very interesting because he has a narrow path to success, but I think the path is a super hard course that that benefits guys that are going to hit the fairway, right? We know Brendan Todd, very short hitter. We know very accurate hitter. I think he's, I don't know, 4th on tour last season, something like that. He's going to hit like 70+% of his fairways. That is, to me, the key. And I don't care if he's hitting 6-iron in when other guys are hitting 8-iron in. I think that the very difficult green complexes benefit some of the stronger putters. Brendan Todd, great putter. His short game around the green, it's slightly above average. I'm much more optimistic on Brendan Todd this week than I think everybody else is. Sungjae Im, he's been all over the place. As much as I've already declared my undying love for Sungjae, you know, he's disappointed me a lot in the restart because he's been all over, but I think there's a couple of good signs. You know, he wins at Honda, which is PGA National, very difficult course. He finishes 3rd at the Arnold Palmer, Bay Hill, very difficult course. Played better at the Tour Championship. He's popped up at the Wyndham. I mean, it hasn't been all bad things for Sungjae in the restart. I think he's fine, especially because the harder this plays, and he mentioned it. I think he mentioned it at Wyndham, like, was it at Wyndham or was it after that? Like he had found something, right? Like his iron started to turn around and the stats kind of bared that out a little bit. I mean, he kind of got crushed at the BMW, but he's been hitting it better at least than he did immediately after the restart. I lost my spot again, but here we go. At what point do we stop analyzing and just lock it in? Go do it now, Dave. I mean, nothing's going to change between now and tee times tomorrow. The weather, which we can look at, looks like there's not going to be too much of an advantage. Thursday, all day Thursday is going to be pretty fine, between 4 and 8 mile an hour winds all day. Weather's going to be nice. Friday, the wind's going to kick up a little bit more. You're going to get into the teens, but it looks like it's going to be like that all day. So I don't think anything's going to change, right? I mean, we've covered this. I think it's time. Go make your lineups. Chuck asks, would I work in strokes gained around the green and bogey avoidance into the model? I think that's fair. I mean, bogey avoidance is interesting because I don't think you're going to be able to avoid it this week. And I don't know how much. It would almost be like double bogey avoidance this week. I don't know how much that plays when everyone's just going to be getting smoked all week. Around the green, certainly. I think it's going to play big. Greg Ducharme, again, joins me over on the First Cut Pod on CBS Sports. He's got a lot of inside information over there at Winged Foot. He's played there a bunch. He thinks that, and he's a great player. He thinks that the bunkers are going to come into play a lot. He thinks that being able to get up and down, because when you miss a fairway, you're going to have to, he said, hopefully leave it short. Hit your approach shot short and get up and down from there. He thinks short game is going to play a big thing. First round leaders. How about Harris English? I believe he was second in round one, scoring to, let's see what his tee time is. Harris English was, good. He has an early tee time. So he's out at 7:34. I think he was second in round one scoring to Rory McIlroy last season, believe it or not. I don't know what his number is at the moment for first round leader, but I think he could do it. He's a grinder. He's got a really strong game. Sal's in the chat. I watched one Sal Vetri video and I made $200 on Jock Market. I don't know anything about football. I don't think it's a coincidence. One video. Thanks, Sal. Much appreciated, bud. How often do I take other people's perspective? Mark, good question. Very rarely. I think that I have, over the years, I don't have a lot of time to consume anything else. I don't watch other videos. I don't listen to other pods. It's not because I don't trust those guys. I think a lot of guys do great work. Sal does great work. Pat does great work. I mean, Cavalunas does good work. Like a lot of guys do great work. There's so much good stuff out there, but I don't have time for it. So, and like, I'm trying to get the video out on Mondays and I try to get it out early. So it doesn't end up happening. It's all kind of my own research for good or bad. Oh man. Louis going to be highly owned. Yep, probably. Who scrambles the best? Well, if you want to talk about, let's see here. Let's go to the key stats model and we can search by, do I have scrambling? I think I do have scrambling in here. Scrambling, the old scrambling stat. Oh boy. Daniel Berger ranks number 1 in scrambling. By the way, this is the course key stats tool, rickrungood.com. My favorite. It's like my favorite tool. It's phenomenal. Berger number 1 in scrambling. Brendan Todd number 2. Taylor Pendrith, whoever that is, also on there. I probably have like 2 rounds on him. I wouldn't trust that. Harris English, Xander Schauffele, someone named Dan McCarthy, not Denny McCarthy, Dan McCarthy. Again, I probably have like 2 rounds on him. Kevin Nas up there. Webb Simpson's up there. So you can go through scrambling from the rough, scrambling from inside 30 yards, proximity to the hole from whatever you want. Strokes gained around the green, all there for you. Go have at it. Have a good time. Jason Kochrack it says John Kochrack is someone I could definitely see in the top 20 this week. I don't think it'll be John. It might be Jason, though. Who is the best European Tour finisher? Rasmus, I think. Still high on Fitzpatrick. Yeah, sure. I mean, listen, I don't like Matthew Fitzpatrick in general because of, not that I don't like him, seems like a great guy. He's a flat stick specialist, right? He just continues but he continues to find ways to get it done. Spelled his name wrong. Fitzpatrick. And I'm in the wrong spot. Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy here. Let me show you something with Matthew Fitzpatrick. 9th at Arnold Palmer. Bay Hill, very difficult. 3rd at Muirfield Village, very difficult. 6th at Olympia Fields, very difficult. I guess I have to stop caring about how he's doing it. So yes, still very high. I'm going to have to try to go through these a little faster. There's a ton of stuff in the chat here. I'll try to go through as quick as possible here. Hey, Rick, do you think someone who hits it well from the rough, such as Matthew Wolff, has an advantage? Yeah, I mean, the 5-inch rough might be something we've kind of never seen before. I don't know what Matthew Wolff's going to do out of it. Honestly, I think a lot of it, there is so much luck involved this week. So much luck. Because you're going to have to be trying to hack it out of there. What kind of lie are you going to draw? It's scary, scary stuff. Patrick Reed, that's not a question. I don't know what that says. A lot of my DFS lineups have a low 6K guy, Harmon, Damon. Do you think this is a viable strategy? Yeah, sure. I think in general, the pricing gets softer. I think there are legitimate PGA Tour professionals at the bottom of this player pool. You're mentioning the Brian Harmons of the world, the Joel Damons. I don't know what Max Homa's price is, but they're legitimate PGA Tour professionals. Ches Reavie, I think it's all good. Yeah, and then it allows you to get essentially anybody else you want. I'm probably going to try to roll out a stars and scrubs approach. Clinton, I have not checked out the FanDuel prices. I'm sorry, man. Like, I got to get over there more often. I really do. My bad. Maybe next week. How much do you handpick lineup combinations versus using lineup builders? So I probably build less lineups than most. I use the core cascading strategy. There's a video on my YouTube channel about that if you want to check it out. It allows you to make a lot of lineups quickly. They are very high risk, high reward type lineups, so keep that in mind. I use optimizers. I use my custom model on RickRunGood.com to kind of get an idea of the types of players that I want. And then I do hand create a lot of lineups, but I'm not putting in 300 lineups a week. If I am, I'll use the lineup optimizer on my site. I kind of use it just to see what types of combinations of players that I want. At what point do I think a GPP is too big? Tell you what, the NFL one with 1 million people in it was probably too big. We can always have this discussion, right? Would you rather play a smaller contest where it's not going to take the literal optimal lineup of the week to win the golf tournament? Would you rather play that and have a better chance of winning like $5,000 instead of having almost zero chance to win 1 million or 250,000? I think a lot of it's personal preference. I don't play daily fantasy for a living, right? I do this for entertainment, a little side money. I like high risk, high reward. That's for me. I understand the risks of it. So it's a lot of personal preference, unfortunately. Hypothetical. I always love a good hypothetical because he's probably going to shoot an 80 in the first round. But what would the golf world look like if Phil won this? That's from Tyler. Tyler, the golf world would burn. It would burn itself down. It would be crazy. I mean, a guy who, first of all, just historically, I think there's been 7 winners on the PGA Tour over 50. I'm not sure there's been a major champion. I'd have to go look at that. Maybe one. If Phil did it this week, to not only be a plus 50 winner, to not only be Phil Mickelson, who is one of the most beloved guys, to not only complete the career Grand Slam, but to also get revenge at Winged Foot, the golf world would implode on itself. It would be phenomenal. There'd be content for days. Phil would do live on it. Like, it would be nuts. It would be nuts. I'm scared to even think about it. Webb, Simpson, Morikawa, or Finau? Man, I love Webb. I love Morikawa. I guess it depends on what you're looking for. I think Webb is the best value, like, to win the golf tournament. 25, 28 to 1, wherever you can get him. I think objectively, I think Jon Rahm is the best player in the best spot this week. I think Webb Simpson is the best value, if that makes sense. There are only good questions, good answers. Do I ever switch out more than 3 or 4 in a core cascade, 20 entry max, bow? No. No. I mean, I've done it. I've tried. I've like tested around with it for like 150 lineups. It gets super hairy. I think 20 is the perfect. You can do 3 or 4. Again, there's a video about core cascading on Rick Run Good YouTube. It's on like one of the home pages there. You'll find it. What else do we have? Good question. Man, people are answering questions. Okay. Cool. That's not a question. That's a statement. Dominic asks, Rick, I know you're cool with super high exposure. How do you cap your own exposures on your guys if you're playing more than 20 max? Yeah, good question. So there's a couple ways I've done this. I've created separate cores. So if I wanted to play 50 or 100 lineups, I could do 2, 3, 4 cores and cascade them out that way and have, try to avoid having the same guys in multiple cores, right? So if one core has, I don't know, Rory and Brian Harmon, another one has DJ and I don't even know, like Ches Reavie, right? Like try to mix it up that way. So try to avoid it. But if I don't cascade them, yeah, you have to be really careful because I would probably take the guys that are in my core and I'd still want to get exposure to them in non-core lineups, but I would limit it to like 20% because you're going to be so overweight on your core guys. Man, you'd be super exposed. And if you're not cool with that, you'd be in trouble. Who are the best golfers at controlling distances, and is strokes gained approach the best proxy for that? So there's not really a good stat for guys who control their distances. Strokes gained approach doesn't know if you are 20 feet over the hole, 20 feet behind the hole, 20 feet left or 20 feet right. It just knows you're 20 feet away. So that's a flaw in the system. Again, proximity would do the same thing, right? It doesn't know if I'm 20 feet away, above in a good spot, below, whatever. It doesn't know that. So controlling distances, there's probably no metric for it. It's a good question. I mean, I can think about that a little bit more, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure there is one. Okay. Rick, do I think optimizing lineups sub 49,000 is smart this week? I always do that. I don't think you have to go as far, Blake, as 49,000. You could do 49,500. That's usually a pretty good spot for me. It gets you more likely unique lineups, which is nice, and you're not giving up all that much. I don't think you have to go down to 49,000, but yes, I'm constantly doing 49,500. There are so many questions, guys. I'm not going to be able to get to all these. Sorry. Man, there's a lot of good ones here. Thoughts on Sergio? He obviously can't putt. That is correct. He obviously cannot putt. It is really bad. I mean, let me show you. I'm going to show you this here. He has not, I think he's gained strokes putting one time this season or last season. I mean, look at this. Look at this. He gained a half a stroke in 4 rounds at WGC Mexico. So it's really just a matter of, is he going to be bad or is he going to be really bad? And I think if you put him on some of these greens, he gets super exposed. What are your thoughts on Hothead Hatton? I think I love him. What happened to the gaming stuff with Golf Club 2019? Just too much. I still play the new game, but we're not doing a society anymore, not doing the Run Good Tour anymore. Just so many other obligations. It was hard to do it like that. Just play for fun now. The Slack channel has a great time with it. If you're in the Rick Run Good Slack channel, ton of people playing the new PGA Tour 2K21 game. Tom Lewis. That's not a question. Do I think anyone who had success from last week will continue form? There's actually not that many guys who played last week. I think the most obvious choice is Reavie, right? So Reavie goes, let me see if I can find him here. Reavie finished 3rd last week, finished 3rd last year, finished 6th at the WGC Mexico, has played well. I think that's fine. I mean, Streelman doesn't have a lot of U.S. Open history recently, but he is a great ball striker. Those two, I think, are the most logical ones to continue success from last week into this week. Yes, I am the Chris Brown. You should probably I should probably ban you if that's true. Man, thoughts on Brandon Grace? I honestly, this is probably the first time I've thought about him. Let's look him up. It's probably the first. He got in off of Scotty Scheffler's WD. So, well, here's what Brandon Grace has been up to, at least on the PGA Tour. 61st at Heritage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive missed cuts, and a 29th at Safeway. Not that thrilled about it. He seems to be a very average player as of late. I don't have much of an opinion on him, unfortunately. No jock market on Android. I think they're working on it. And then I would love a web version, actually. Curious about... No. Thoughts on Kuchar? I think for the first time in a while, he's not a free space in a major. He just has not played well at all. We talked about a lot of these. Let me try to just go through them here. Tommy Fleetwood, talked about Tommy. He was phenomenal in Portugal, which is where he played last on the European Tour. He gained a ton of strokes from tee to green, which is always good to see. But it's classic Tommy, right? Go out and gain from tee to green. Hope you find a hot putter. I think Tommy's going to catch a lot of steam, and I think he's going to catch a lot of steam, especially because Scotty Scheffler WD'd. And Scotty Scheffler, I think, was going to be one of the most popular golfers on the slate, and now I think a lot of that ownership is going to go to Tommy Fleetwood. Glad to see the Jock Market logo. Thanks, Scott. Glad to. Love you guys on the First Cut. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. First Cut Pods, CBS Sports. I host it. Honestly, it's growing to be a really good pod. I love what we're doing over there. Oh, boy. Sub 7 Lanto, a lock as usual. Yeah. Listen. I think that Munoz and Lanto, they're solid PGA Tour pros, and they're priced to move. Sebastian Munoz playing a lot better. I'm afraid of what this course could do to him, but I am getting a lot better. I am getting a lot warmer on him. All right, I've got like 3 minutes to go here. Let me see what I can run through really quickly. Can I name 4 players that I think will make the cut? For odds? I don't know. Rom, DJ, JT, Xander. I don't know if that's what you want. Redman is the first alternate. My buddy Doc, I don't know if he knows he's my buddy, but he's been on the pod a couple of times. Doc is the first alternate. He is on site. He is practicing. He was hitting shots on the short game area with Xander earlier today. But unless someone twists their ankle or whatever, he's not going to play. He's the next guy in the field. Next guy in. I'd love to see him play. Oh, man. Thoughts on Victor Hovland taking the W? Probably not, but I'm so bullish on Victor moving forward. I mean, he's just the man. He's just the man. Chesson Hadley, a player of fate. I have not thought about Chesson Hadley this week. Should we look him up real quick and see what he's been up to? I saw he popped on someone's model. Did he pop on my model? He's putted well the last couple of starts. Around the green is always pretty suspicious. He's been better with the irons as of late. I probably won't get to Chesson Hadley. I don't think that's the key. What do I think the winning score is going to be? +3. +3? I don't know. If a winner puts up a +3 or over, oh my God, what do I think the last place player will shoot? So the last place player who makes the cut, because this is going to be a weird week where, like holes in hand, you don't want holes in hand. Like you want to be in the clubhouse, not out there holes in hand. So if you play the weekend, those scores are certainly going to be higher than guys who missed the cut. So I don't know, it might be 25 over. I think that's what we saw in 06. The guy who finishes last after missing the cut might be 25 over. Most overhyped player this week. That's a pretty good question. I don't know. What are we defining hype as? Projected ownership? I would argue, then maybe I argue it's Finau, right? First of all, great question. Keep coming with those questions. Who asked that? Rancid coleslaw. Okay, cool. Great question. Keep coming with those questions. I guess it's Tony Finau because I have him as the 5th most expensive or 5th highest owned golfer on the slate. I think that his usual advantage of being a very streaky golfer for birdies, for birdie streaks, for low rounds, all that good stuff, I think he loses that this week because such a huge percentage of your fantasy point output is going to come from your finishing position. And one of the built-in values for Tony Finau is that he almost always outpaces his finishing position with fantasy points. I don't think that's going to happen this week. So I will say the most overhyped this week is Tony Finau. He still might play well, but I just think he's not the style of golfer. Doc's out there about to about to nub somebody in the knees. Take a 7-iron to the knees. I'm at my time, but let me see if there's anything else going on here. Most underrated. We could do that. So I guess we could just flip this around and say, let's sort by projected ownership. Excuse me. Most underrated. Good question. So I'll use public sentiment here. It might be Bryson. I mean, I don't feel like playing him, but he's either going to finish first or he's going to finish dead last, and he's 4% owned. Outside of that, it's probably Adam Scott. If Adam Scott and Tiger Woods are coming in similar ownerships, I think that's a joke, right? I mean, I get why it's happening, but Adam Scott, a couple of top 25 finishes here in the in his last 3 starts. He's got like 19 top 10 finishes at major championships in his career. Like, I have no problem thinking Adam Scott finds his way into the top 20 this week. So then he is probably the most underrated. What would I shoot? All right, this will be the last question, or we'll wrap up here shortly. God, what would I shoot here? So I'm like an 8 handicap. I played the worst round I've ever played this last weekend at Monarch Beach in Newport Beach or Dana Point. And if I had to play right now, I would probably shoot a 140, 50, 60. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. If you miss the fairway, which I tend to do a lot, I'm going to just have to commit to hacking it out. 150 I might shoot. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty good. I'm playing Harding Park next week. I don't think it'll still be in tour-like conditions. I'm hoping they cut it by now. So we'll see what I shoot at Harding Park next week. And I think that'll do it. I don't know. We covered a lot of these. Appreciate the support. This has been a lot of fun. I think that we can do this on a weekly basis. If you like it, hit the like button. That's all I ask. Let me know you like it. We'll try to continue to do these. Shout out to Jock Market. They're great. I love it. We were able to partner up. You should download it and you should play in their contest this week. That's it. It's going to be awesome. 4 a.m. wake up call. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be carnage. You can find me at Rick Run Good tomorrow morning. I'll be on there. Appreciate the support, guys. Seriously, it's awesome. And yeah, I guess I'll do it. Peace. Good luck.